signing bills and dealing with the budget as now the governor's office. Let me move on, because you have made several points today of saying in a retrial that you're going to call Rahm Emanuel, you're going to call Harry Reid. If this retrial is held during the fall, how damaging is this going to be for national Democrats?
Look, I've said what this prosecutor is trying to do is politicize, it's criminalized politics, and he's selectively prosecuting me. I think there's some other motivations. The Wall Street Journal has urged that he either resign or be fired because of this persecution of me, Scooter Libby, and Conrad Black. There's a bipartisan dynamic here. There's a playbook that these guys use.
But if I may ask you to answer my question, sir, how damaging will this be for Democrats if this whole trial, your whole problems, Rahm Emanuel, Harry Reid are all involved with the Blagojevich case in the fall of this year?
If they tell the truth, they've done nothing wrong and I've done nothing wrong. We talked about political horse trading to varying degrees, depending upon who I talked about, and it's not at all unlike, there apparently, under published reports, a new federal judge who was made because the Obama administration was able to get a congressman to vote for his health care plan. Or the idea of the Senate candidate in Pennsylvania.
Governor, I looked at that case. First of all, the brother who was appointed a federal judge had been the dean of the Utah Law School and a U.S. attorney. And secondly, the congressman voted against health care reform. So that's a pretty lousy example.
Well, there was a published report that said just the opposite. Mr. Sestak in Pennsylvania, and the talk about it, giving him a position in the government,
either.
So he doesn't.
So wait a minute. Are you saying Are you saying, sir, that your ethics are no different than Rahm Emanuel's? Your ethics are no different than Harry Reid's?
I'm saying that yes, yes, it's the same. It's political horse trading that these prosecutors are trying to criminalize, and they weren't able to do it without us putting on a defense. If we put on a defense and properly explain these things, I think the jury will see it for exactly what it is, political horse trading. It was never about campaign funds. I never made a decision to do that. The decision I made was to make a political deal. The Attorney General of Illinois, whose father was blocking the Public Works bill, in exchange for appointing her to the Senate, I wanted those jobs created, 500,000 jobs, health care expansion, and a promise not to raise taxes. Rahm Emanuel, on the day before my arrest, was going to be the guy to make that deal happen. I spoke to Harry Reid about this and Menendez. I spoke to them on the telephone about these things. They were willing to help, and it was about to happen. This prosecutor
you're guilty of
and
nothing.
He came into my home and arrested me.
I want to make clear, you're saying you're guilty of nothing more than Harry Reid, Senator Menendez, and Rahm Emanuel.
That's exactly right, absolutely right. And they did nothing wrong either. And they should be witnesses in the next trial. We're going to try to call President Obama again. He did nothing wrong either. They can help prove my innocence and help vindicate me.
Let me ask you, you said the other day that after the feds arrested you, that they pressured you to try to give information on higher-ups. Now, you're the governor of Illinois. I can't imagine there was any higher-up than Barack Obama, who had just been elected president of the United States. Why didn't you give evidence on him?
Well, I'm going to have something to say maybe later on about that, and in terms of maybe possibly more specifics. But let me say this. I'm not going to lie about people or do things to people what they've done to me because I'm being squeezed and pressured by the powerful federal prosecutor who's looking for a political trophy. I'm not going to sell people out and make things up and do to others what has been done to me. And what this fight is about is much bigger than just me. This is a system now that doesn't have a check and balance on these prosecutors. This guy went after Scooter Libby, threw all kinds of things at him, and ultimately they got a conviction on perjury or false statements or whatever the case is. It's almost like there's a playbook here. And it's all about sort of getting a guy that's close to the real power so that maybe if they get him, they can then get the next guy. And I think ultimately, with the whole truth is given a chance to be heard, people will see this for exactly what it is.
You know, as you point out, while there was a hung jury on 23 of the counts, you were convicted of giving false statements to the FBI. You're going to appeal, but are you afraid of going to jail, sir?
No, I'm not. Again, I trust in the truth, and I believe this is a marathon. This is a very difficult thing when you're fighting these prosecutors with their power. This has been almost 2 years. We've made tremendous strides from the very beginning to where we are now. I'm much closer to proving my innocence and being vindicated, and this jury, has helped me in a substantial step get to that point. From 5 years ago, they took a conversation where I agreed voluntarily to cooperate with them. They would not allow a court reporter in there. And they took this, and it was half a count, actually, because the first part of the statement, the jury did not reach that same finding. But with regard to the second part, It was in the context of, do I track fundraising and who gets state contracts? And I said I did not. And that's why they wanted to interview me, and we will appeal that. And I believe, if we have a very good chance to be successful at that. I didn't lie to the FBI, and I'm not lying to you, and I'm not lying to the people.